Well, we're back again with yet another No Fluff analysis, and this time I'll be talking about the new set of mana spirals added to light units on the 18th of August 2020 UTC. Let's get straight to it with the first unit receiving a spiral, Julietta. Her first skill, Impending Sky, has gone from dealing 1254% to 2394%, which is a 1140% increase, and now also heals for half the damage taken while using the skill. This is a huge potency increase, and the addition of healing gives her some self-sustain. I believe this is likely intended to be used to tank purple attacks in combination with the knockback immunity she gains from her second skill. Her second skill is Glorious Guard, and the buff duration has gone from 10 seconds to 20 seconds, and upon using Glorious Guard, her next Force Strike will deal 1497% damage, and also reduce foe's strength by 10% for 10 seconds. In terms of pure numbers, this has gained even more potency than her S1. Julietta now essentially has 2 damage skills, and the strength debuff is a small bonus. Her first ability has gone from being Slayer's Strength to Floral Knight, which is just an addition of 20% defense. The strength portion of this ability won't really come into much use unless there are many adds in the Shadow Agato fight, so the flat 20% defense is relatively minor. It'll allow her to play slightly more aggressively, however. Her Poison Resist has gone to being Potent Poison Resist, which is the standard resistance buff. Her final ability of Last Recovery now activates 3 times per quest, with a 15-second cooldown. This defensive upgrade further cements Julietta as an aggressive axe adventurer with the ability to tank, with her additional defense increasing the amount of effective hit points she gets from healing. Julietta has overall seen some massive potency increases without any reliance on status afflictions. Overall, my prediction is that she'll end up somewhere in the top 10 in the sim, with a good chance of tickling the top 5 ranks, placing her near Radiant Transang and Fleur. There's a chance she ends up even higher in the ranks if I'm underestimating the innate stat buffs and their contribution to overall DPS from spirals. The next unit getting a spiral is Hildegarde, and her first skill, Radiant Savior, has had a healing change from 108% to 130%, and also an additional 10% regen for 15 seconds. This is an over 60% increase in overall healing. Hildegarde's second skill, Sacred Guardian, has had the regen ticks go from 29% to 35%, which is a minor increase in healing to the tune of about 20%. Her first ability of Skill Prep has gained Skill Charge, which is 5% of skill gauges per skill use. Skill Charge is an odd addition. Healers don't typically spam their skills as they're available, so I don't think Hildegarde will get much value out of this unless there's massive amounts of outgoing damage from the Shadow Agato fight. Her standard Curse Resist has gone to Potent Curse Resist, and her final ability, which gave her plus 15% healing over 70% hit points, has become Devout Oracle. Now, using Radiant Savior will cause Hildegarde's next 2 Force Strikes to heal the team member most in need. This heal has 82% recovery potency. So this enables Hildegarde to spot heal with 4 strikes. Overall, Hildegarde has gained a massive amount of healing with no big changes to her utility. I feel as if there's also anti-synergy between her spot heals and Zubagier, but overall we'll have to see how the Shadow Agato fight turns out in order to really see the full extent of how useful the healing buffs are. The next unit on the roster is Albert. His first skill, Lightning Burst, has now gained extra damage against paralyzed enemies. Non-electrified damage has gone from 825% to 990%, and electrified damage has gone from a maximum potential of 1736% to 2082%. The base potency has remained the same, so the only addition is the additional damage against paralyzed enemies. It's a moderate buff, but feels somewhat lackluster. Albert's second skill, Thunderous Impulse, used to be a 20-second buff. It now lasts for 25 seconds, and his Force Strike gains 2 levels and only inflicts paralysis on the second level when Thunderous Impulse is active. The total SP cost has also increased, but the SP regen has increased more. The skill now charges in 36 seconds rather than 40. Again, a small buff, but the major change is that Albert is now no longer forced to immediately ramp up the foe's paralysis resistance to 100% to maximize damage. players are now given the ability to forgo applying paralysis, which should enable longer paralysis uptime overall, prolonging paralysis Punisher uptime. Albert's first ability of Force Strike plus 50% damage has now become Impulse Slash. Albert now gains a unique Force Strike, but non-electrified Force Strikes will drain Albert's S2 gauge by 5%, or 2 seconds of skill gauge fill. When electrified, Albert gains an additional 10% Force Strike damage. The choice to make Albert's non-electrified Force Strikes drain his S2 seems somewhat confusing, but the addition of the unique Force Strike is intriguing. In the end, however, this is yet another sword adventurer dissuaded from using the standard optimized sword combo of 2 to 3 hits into a Force Strike, which is upsetting to some. Albert's received the standard resistance buff of Poison Resist becoming Potent Poison Resist, and his final ability, Electrically Charged, has gone from a 25% strength buff to 30% strength and plus 10% attack rate while electrified. This is a moderate buff to his overall damage while electrified, and the attack rate is sure to make him feel great to play. Personally, I'm a bit biased towards attack rate buffs. In terms of his overall power increase, however, it's hard to say since his kit is quite complex. I don't think he'll climb as many positions as Julietta will, and they may end up in similar spots on the sim after they're updated. However, Light's reliance on paralysis and the abundance of paralysis may cause Albert's DPS to be lower in practice than it is on the sim, since the default settings of the sim assume 100% affliction uptime. The final 5-star unit receiving a spiral with this batch of spirals is Summer Cleo. Her first skill, Parasol Shot, has gained 1 additional maximum shot. Previously, it dealt 848% with up to 4 potential additional shots of 106%. It now deals 861% at base with 5 potential additional shots at 107%. This is a very minor buff to potencies, but the potential additional shot from buffs on Cleo is a slightly larger bonus. Summer Cleo's second skill, Tropical Breeze, now grants the user additional buffs based on the number of targets buffed. By default, it now grants an extra plus 10% defense. When buffing 2 or more adventurers, it grants an additional 10% critical damage, and at 3 or more adventurers, immediately preps your skill 1 for use. This buff makes Tropical Breeze even more devastating within the 4 Karuna composition within Ayahan Otaha. The skill 1 prep on buffing 3 adventurers may occasionally be awkward to attain, but overall is a huge buff to any adventurer's overall damage output. Summer Cleo's paralysis equals skill haste has gone from 10 to 12%, her curse resist has become potent curse resist, and her paralyzed punisher has gone from 30% to 35%. Overall, the buffs to her abilities have been incredibly minor, but most of Summer Cleo's additional power from her spiral is loaded into her skill 2. Do note that the SP cost of shared skills increases as they're leveled up, but overall the bonuses gained are huge. As a side effect, Summer Cleo gains the Fleur/Joachim style of skill rotations dependent on team positioning. In terms of final power levels, I believe Summer Cleo has a chance to reach top 5 on the sim, but obviously this will vary in practice as I assume the sim will also assume that she gets a charge of S1 with every single S2, which in real fights may not be too realistic. The final unit receiving a spiral is Amane. Her first skill, Imperial 11, has gone from dealing 984% damage at base to 1082% versus paralyzed enemies, and now also inflicts paralysis, and also deals up to 2 bonus hits of 35 to 38.5% damage, based on the number of buffs Amane has. So this is a moderate buff, since inflicting paralysis adds another couple 100% of damage. The choice to add 2 bonus hits for such low potency is perplexing, however. Amane's second skill, Hallowed Raiments, went from a 15% strength buff to 20% strength buff, and the hit point buff has gone from 10 to 15%. This is a small buff overall, and now Amane can cap her hit points in 2 casts of S2 rather than 3. Personally, I've never really been a fan of selfish strength buffs, however. Amane's first ability of 75% skill prep has become 100% skill prep and skill charge. The skill prep is a welcome buff, but Amane's 11k SP cost of her S2 will mean that she gets relatively fewer casts of skills overall, reducing the bonus that she gets from skill charge. Curse Resist is now Potent Curse Resist, which is fairly standard, and her final ability, Broken Punisher, has gone from 20% to 35%. This initially seems like a big number buff, but considering that break phases of fights are such a short period of an overall fight, I don't think this accounts for much damage. Coupled with one's tendency to use Candy Couriers, a Wormprint with Broken Punisher, this further reduces the marginal benefit of this buff. However, it's still a buff, and I guess there's not much else they could have done with this ability. Overall, my predictions for Amane are poor. I don't think she'll quite hit top 10 on the sim due to lackluster buffs to her overall potencies. I could be wrong, but overall I believe a large portion of her damage gains will come from the innate stat buffs that come with the spiral, rather than the changes to her skills and abilities. In terms of the spirals overall, I think Summer Cleo and Julietta are the overall winners when it comes to this set. However, I won't be immediately spiraling any characters. I think it's best to wait for the Shadow Agato to be released before committing any resources. In the end though, I'm not your boss. If you have an excess of Champions Testaments, don't let me stop you from spiraling your favourite characters. As a small announcement, I've started a new channel purely for hosting my VODs from Twitch. It'll mostly be Dragalia Lost streams, but may expand as I branch out and explore new avenues of content. I'll leave a link to this channel in a pinned comment and also in the description. Hopefully in the future I'll also be able to post stream highlights to this channel as well. As always, take it easy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.